Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to the Non-Prophets. This show is brought to you by the Atheist Community of Austin. I'm your host, Jeff D. My temporary co-hosts today are Paul Wilson.
Hi, Jeff.
And Michelle Gadush.
Hi.
And our producer, as usual, is Russell Glasser.
And new father.
And new father. Did we not? No, that's right, because that happened Sunday.
That's right. Out, he was very considerate to wait till after the show.
Okay, tell everybody what we're talking about.
My son, Ben, was born at 1:26 last Sunday. He's here with us in the studio, but he's sleeping right now. Or is he?
Is he? No.
He's downstairs.
Yeah, we'd like to welcome Ben to his first audio show.
The world's newest atheist.
There may have been more since then. The opening music was Finite Equals All Right by David Byrne. We are live June 1, 2002. The Atheist Community of Austin is a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of church and state. We have weekly meetings Sunday mornings at the Hot Jumbo Bagel Shop at 307 West 5th Street, at 10:30 a.m., except for the first Sunday of each month, when we have our lecture series at 11 a.m. in the Longhorn Room of Furs Cafeteria at North Cross Mall. Our next lecture will be on June 2, that's tomorrow, and the speaker will be our own Dr. Philippe Pouliot, discussing the current state of superstring theory. ACA board meetings are at 10 a.m. right before our regular meeting on the second Sunday of each month, so that will be the 9th.
And the new board?
And that would be, that would be the first meeting of this year's new board. If you shop at the Randall's Food Store chain, you can give them our nonprofit organization number 5158 and have 1% of your purchases donated automatically to the Atheist Community of Austin. The Godless Gamers meet Monday nights at 7 p.m. at my place. ACA Happy Hour is at Antonio's near Highway 35 and 183 every Thursday night at 7:30. Again, this is all in Austin, Texas, so those of you listening from Oklahoma or wherever, you're out of luck. Let's see. For more information, you can call our...
Road trip.
Come on down. For more information, call our voicemail at 512-371-2911 or visit our website at www.atheist-community.org. And again, for anybody listening to a recorded version of this show rather than the live one, if you tune in on Saturday from 2 to 3:30 Central Time, you can hear each week's show live as it gets broadcast over the internet. And there's a chat room at www.atheistnetwork.com. Join into the chat room and you can hang out with other people listening to the show and contribute your comments and things. I see a handful of folks in the chat room right now. Hi, everybody. A few new names that I don't recognize, but you never know since you get to give yourself a handle. They could be folks we already know. Just playing new names. Let's see. I guess we'll go into announcements. First of all, just as a general thing to Austin area listeners, Amanda and I went to see the dinosaur tracks at the San Gabriel River. What was that? 2 days ago now? 2 days ago. You can find information on this at www.neosoft.com/Medmunds. MEDMUNDS/Dino95/SanGabriel.html. Anyway, there's a track of fossilized dinosaur tracks, about 8 of them or so in the riverbed. They're really pretty well preserved for just being out in the middle of nowhere and not particularly cared for. And we went out there geocaching, which is another thing.
So it's on in a park or
it's
public
not
land?
It's not. I guess it's public land. There's a track down the river bank down to the river basin. There's don't trespass signs all around it, but not actually blocking you from getting to the tracks. So I'm not entirely sure of the legal status of the land, but anyway, it was really keen, and we used it as an excuse to go geocaching, using our GPS unit to hide a little hidden treasure trove there, which you can find out at www.geocaching.com if you've never heard of that hobby before. Anyway, so that's a pretty cool thing, and we have gone up to that river before with members of the ACA, but we discovered that we were going to the wrong place. We were right where 183 crosses the San Gabriel, and here you go, Russell.
Thanks.
We were right where where Highway 183 crosses the San Gabriel, and actually what you need to do is take a back road that takes you upstream a bit, I think it is, and is a much better site. Okay. More regular announcements. First of all, for the past couple of weeks, the past show link for our program at the Atheist Network was still playing our May 11 episode. And we contacted Atheist Network about the problem, and they fixed it. So now it is currently playing last week's show, but probably by this afternoon it'll be playing today's show. If you missed the May 18 and May 25 shows, don't forget, you can always go to www.atheist-community.org/radio.htm, and we have our own archive of those shows that you can listen to there. If you hear of slurs, defamation, or discrimination against atheists or other non-believers in the U.S. media, you can report it to the National Atheist Ombuds by emailing ombuds@atheism.org. Please include as many details as possible and a news source where applicable, and those reports will be distributed to participating national and local non-theist organizations who will write up press releases and get the word out. It's a anti-discrimination league for atheists, and very, very important. Like, every time you see one of those stupid, you see that stupid catchphrase, no atheists in foxholes, anywhere in the media, let these folks know. More ACA events. On June 2, that's tomorrow, we will have our booth at the Gay Pride Festival at Fiesta Gardens here in Austin, Texas. We had an outreach booth there last year, and it was a lot of fun and very successful. Setup begins at 9 a.m. Contact Michelle if you want more info on that. On June 8th, the Free Thinkers Association of Central Texas has invited the ACA to join them at their cookout down in San Antonio. Again, contact Michelle and she can tell you what you need to know to attend and directions and stuff. On June 15, the U.S. Catholic Bishops meeting will be subject to a protest by the Metroplex Atheists up in Dallas, and again, we are invited to go up there and again contact Michelle for all the
or contact Shelley Hatton directly at Metroplex.
Or Shelley Hatton.
Mm-hmm. She's the head of Metroplex Atheists.
You got an email address?
No. But just go look up Metroplex Atheism. Do a search for Metroplex Atheists, and you can contact them through that.
Right. Chances are, if you're in the ACA and you're a member of our group, you're already getting emails that have this stuff.
Right, and she posts to the list quite a bit, so
okay.
She should be in the list archives if nothing else.
Right. The Fourth World Skeptics Conference will be on June 20 to 23 in Burbank, California. Find out more at www.scicop.org, that's CSICOP/events/conference-2002. And finally, this is a new American Atheists event that I just found out about, that I want to share with all of you. On Saturday, November 2 of this year, individuals and representatives of the nation's diverse community of non-religious people will make history and march on Washington. At the 28th National Convention of American Atheists, President Ellen Johnson announced this new initiative in giving godless Americans a new voice and presence. AA is reaching out to all Americans without religious beliefs, atheists, freethinkers, secular humanists, rationalists, whatever the label. You're being asked to join them in Washington, D.C. and be part of this important event. It will be held on the National Mall, west side of the U.S. Capitol building from approximately 11 a.m. to 2 to 3 p.m. AA is currently negotiating with it says the service, maybe they mean the Secret Service, and other area agencies for a march down the mall, beginning on the east side of 14th Street, in the Washington Monument area, to the rally location. The rally will include speeches from representatives of various atheist, free thought, secular humanist, and other related national, regional, and local organizations. Your group should be receiving a mailing shortly. Did we get one of those?
I don't pick up the mail if Laura gets it. She's been out of town for a week. But I've heard about it on the Atheist Alliance board is discussing whether or not to affiliate with this.
Okay. And if your group doesn't hear from them, you can contact them directly, and they encourage that. For more information, plus an endorsement page that you can sign, go to www.godlessamericans.org. Now, why would the Atheist Alliance not want to participate in that?
Well,
Is this more stupid-ass atheist infighting?
No, well, I think it's because a little bit of the fallout from the day that counts, where they made it sound like it would be a collaboration between groups, and it was basically became an American atheist event with just some other people happening to be there.
That's entirely the fault of the people that didn't show up.
Right. Well,
right?
So there's some.
Our group sent me.
Right.
I went. We're not a member of American Atheists. I said as much. I wasn't stopped from saying that. They didn't pretend that I was a member of American Atheists.
Well, I think it's funny that they're even... I think there's some discussion about working more with American Atheists and Atheist Alliance, and I think they probably will decide to go ahead and affiliate with them on this, but the motion's just been seconded, so it hasn't gone to a complete vote yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should stop this stupid-ass atheist infighting and do more smart-ass atheist infighting.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have lots of smart
Thank you, Paul.
Case in point.
You can now collect past episodes of The NonProphets and an audio version of our sister show, The Atheist Experience, which airs on public access television only in Austin, Texas, in a convenient CD format. Each CD includes a full month's worth of audio from both shows in QuickTime and MP3. Boy, I just cannot talk today. Sorry about that. Maybe I'll try to slow down. January, February, March, and April CDs are now available. The CDs are $5 each. Contact atheist@mac.com for info. That's all the announcements. But I got a little bit of old business.
Okay.
Before we get to the news. Politically Incorrect is canceled.
Cancelled.
Yep.
The last show will be on June 28th. Jimmy Kimmel is doing a new show in that time slot. He has not taken over for Bill
The Jimmy
Maher.
Show.
I don't know what the heck
Man
he's
Show
gonna
Part
do.
2.
Yeah, I went back and found the transcript of Bill Maher's appearance on the Larry King Show.
Yeah,
And,
great, wasn't it?
It was, but he made it clear what was actually going on with the show here. All right, Russell, why don't you do a bit of news?
Okay, I have a bit of news.
Good.
First one is fairly lighthearted because it's basically just one group of idiots against another.
Oh boy.
Catholics to wage war over Antichrist sign. A controversial billboard proclaiming the Pope is the Antichrist remains standing today despite an expired contract, WorldNet Daily has learned, prompting a Catholic group to say it's ready to wage war over the matter. Larry Weathers, the Oregon barber behind the placard, confirms his year-long contract ended May 8th.
Because barbers would know who's the Antichrist and who's not.
Right. And he's now renting the advertising space on a month-to-month basis. The only way that it's coming down is if it's forced down, Weathers said. Rome is going to get inflamed again. The billboard...
Yeah, this barber's billboard
Yeah.
is gonna burn down the city of Rome.
Right. The billboard sparking outrage reads, "The Pope is the Antichrist. Free proof." And then provides the website address, www.antichrist666.com. I just think it's kind of amusing because, from a free speech point of view, I mean, there's all those stupid little God quotes all over our highways.
Right.
And, they're free to do that, but also any other group of morons is free to come and say that they're evil.
That's a good point.
And I especially like this ending quote here where Weathers insists that he's not spreading any message of hate, but rather just informing people of truth. He invites people to challenge what he's teaching. "Prove me wrong," he said. "If you can prove us wrong using the Bible and history as the standard, we'll take down the billboard and stop sending books and we'll follow Rome. No one has ever proved us wrong."
So
I think that's funny because
so if there was a disproof, So what he's saying is, if there was a disproof that the Pope is the Antichrist, that disproof would be in history and in the Bible. It wouldn't be in, like, the complete and utter absence of horns or a tail on the Pope.
Apparently.
Okay.
Well, we got some scientific news from National Geographic. New
Yeah.
analysis throws age of life on Earth into doubt.
Uh-huh.
The most ancient organisms on Earth don't need Botox to make themselves appear suddenly younger. They might just need a good dose of revisionist geological science. A fresh reading of the geology and geochemistry of an isolated corner of Greenland could shave at least 50 million years off the presumed age of the first living things on the planet. Now, I want to point out, before creationists get a hold of this story, that the Earth is still on the order of 3.85 billion years old. I mean, shaving off 50 million years...
Is it like 1%? Is that right?
I think it's less than that. Quite a bit less than that.
Billion.
Let's see. No, it takes it down from 3.85 to 3.80. So...
That's 10%.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry. 3.85, 3.8.
No,
It's a few tenths.
definitely not.
I'm sorry. I can't do math today either.
No, not in
It's
our
about an
heads.
80th.
Anyway, past analysis of rocks found on Aquileia, the remote island of the southwestern coast of Greenland, led scientists to conclude that they were at least 3.85 billion years old and contained evidence of the earliest life on the planet.
Uh-huh.
Not so, says Chris Beddoe, a geologist at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and Martin Whitehouse, a geologist at the Swedish Museum of Natural History in Stockholm. Having re-examined the rocks, they have reached two startling conclusions. The deposits aren't as old as had been believed, and they might not contain the remnants of living things at all.
I'm not startled.
Yeah, I mean, there's all this... I mean, there's plenty of other rocks containing life that isn't that old.
Yeah.
Or is nearly that old.
Right.
Anyway, that's enough of that.
Okay? Indeed.
Moving on.
Yeah? Got any more about Catholics?
No, I stay away from Catholic stuff. I'm tired of it.
I got almost nothing but today.
Well, I'll leave that to you.
All right.
The ACLU filed suit over city's lease of Camp Balboa to Boy Scouts.
You were going to let me do this one.
Oh, I'm
No,
sorry.
you go ahead. You started now.
I'll leave it.
He's
No,
doing the
please.
Catholic
I have
stuff.
way more than you.
All right. You're our Catholic correspondent.
Yeah.
The San Diego City Council may have thrown in the towel when it comes to fighting discrimination at the Boy Scouts of America, but the American Civil Liberties Union hasn't. In December, the council voted 6-3 to renew a controversial lease, giving the Scouts control of 15.7 acres of land at Balboa Park, virtually rent-free. At the time, Mayor Dick Murphy and several other members of the council said they deplored the discriminatory policies of the Scouts, but they refused to make children suffer by closing down Camp Balboa. The ACLU has no intention of letting that vote be the end of the fight. The organization filed suit challenging the original lease in August 2002. About a week ago, a federal judge granted a request by attorneys for the ACLU to substitute the new agreement for the previous lease in the case. They also added the Boy Scouts of America to the list of plaintiffs, which includes the local Scout chapter and the city of San Diego. It's really offensive that the city council would approve the new lease under these circumstances, said Emmy Stevens, one of the several attorneys representing the ACLU. Some of them are acting like they are in the 1950s. In the face of knowing about the discrimination, the city council ignored 50 years of civil rights law. What they're really trying to do is attack scouting principles, said Teresa Kristovich, attorney for the Scouts.
And one of their principles is they have to meet on public land for cheap?
I
That's
guess
one of
so.
their principles?
And another one is that they
It's one
have to
of their God-given
discriminate
rights.
against gays. The lawsuit is allegedly about
I
the
personally
lease.
think it's terrible that we're making children suffer by not allowing them to attend scouting events.
You know,
on
I think
public
it's terrible
land
that we're
for
making
cheap
me
at
suffer
this
by not giving me
organization
free land.
that doesn't like atheists or gays. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. The ACLU suit filed in the
That's
U.S.
my ass.
filed in U.S. District Court attacks the lease on constitutional grounds. It argues that the city, a public agency that represents everyone who lives within its bounds, should not subsidize the Boy Scouts, an organization which stands by a national policy of excluding homosexuals and people who do not profess a belief in God.
Principles!
Anything else?
Yeah, I got two more things.
Do it.
Oh, wait a minute. Scouts are supposed to be trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. But reverent comes last. I think we just lop that one off.
And
That's true.
and
Nobody will
prejudiced.
even miss it.
Yeah.
And prejudiced.
Right.
And straight.
Yeah, straight.
I thought it was Girl Scouts.
There we go. Leave reverent and just add straight.
There you
I don't know.
go.
What does reverent mean anyway? It doesn't say in that
I think
like
you can revere
specifically
something in a
religiously
secular
reverent.
context.
I think
If you're
reverence is
reverent
like
of other stuff.
Respectful.
Well, reverence is like respect on psychotic.
Didn't Thomas Jefferson...
That's my take on it.
Thomas Jefferson
Basically,
say something
reverence-
about holding reverence for the separation of church and state principle?
Probably.
You revere it. You.
They say anything about reverence.
But shouldn't we just not be saying that kids should be reverent without saying what it is they should be reverent of?
That's true.
Though? Isn't that kind of dangerous?
Yeah, what if they get coverage of Harry Potter or something?
Look at this fine toxic waste dump. Johnny, be reverent.
Okay.
I'm in a weird mood today too. I can't read straight. I can't do math, and I'm
That's
doing funny
good.
voices.
You must be channeling somebody.
Oh, that's it. What does it sound like that I'm channeling?
I don't know, one of the Monty Python guys,
Oh, the one
probably.
that's
It would
dead.
have to be Graham Chapman.
Yeah,
He's the one that's dead. I don't think you can channel live people, can you?
I don't think
well,
so.
I don't know.
They don't like it.
And where would their spirit
Yeah,
go
you
from
could
their
catch
body
them in
when
an
it's in yours?
embarrassing moment.
They just kind of fall to the floor, lifeless.
Are you
Hulk and then-
embarrassed easily? I am. But it's nothing to worry about. It's all part of growing up and being British.
Winkle rotary engine.
Okay, go on.
It's a bunch of in-jokes. Anyway.
Those were Monty Python quotes from albums.
Right.
Vic asks, what are you on?
I am on a wooden chair. One of these folding wooden chairs that the Glassers have. Go on with the damn news story, will you?
All right, I've got two headlines for this one. The real headline...
I said damn, and there's children here.
And the one that the infidels.org newswire put on it, and I like the infidels one better. It's Toronto fundamentalists continue legal battle to beat their children.
I remember these guys.
Toronto, the two sides in a heart-wrenching battle over corporal punishment will square off in court today for the right to care for 7 children from a fundamentalist Christian family. The children, now aged between 7 and 15, boy, they were busy, were dragged kicking and screaming July 4th from their home in Aylmer, Ontario, 25 kilometers east of St. Thomas, by family services officials and police.
No, don't take me away. I need my whooping.
They were taken by Family and Children's Services of St. Thomas and Elgin after the parents, staunch believers that the Bible condones the rod of correction.
Uh-huh.
We've had a lot of
The
discussion
Rod.
about
We
that
had a whole
lately.
book about that we reviewed here recently,
Yeah.
didn't we?
Refused to guarantee that
Yeah.
they wouldn't paddle their children.
Well, wait a minute. It says, spare the rod and spoil the child, right?
Yes.
And it's just an imperative sentence, right? You spare the rod, you spoil the child. That's just what you're supposed to do.
Uh-huh.
But they take it the other way.
Silly people.
They don't want to spoil the child, therefore they don't spare the rod.
There you go.
The ensuing debate has galvanized the community where the parents, buttressed by immeasurable public support and an entire congregation of the Church of God, are fighting to raise their kids the way they see fit. And age-old debates, newly energized, have been raging ever since. I think it's capturing people's attention because the parents and their supporters have taken the view that they have the right to strike children, said Gail Vandermillen, Director of Communication with the Ontario Association of Children's Aid Services. We don't believe that you should spank a child at all, and we certainly don't believe that you should beat a child with an instrument.
Uh-huh. Thanks.
The law says we must intervene if physical harm is caused to a child. The view of the child welfare system is that you cannot strike a child and cause injury. And
they have struck their children and caused injury.
And they say, we're going to stand on the principles of the Bible of love and kindness. We're a church that believes in Bible principles. We believe that this nation needs it, and we believe that this nation wants it.
And Bible kindness involves, like, bruised bodies.
Beating your children.
Okay. Well,
you see, they didn't follow the advice of that book, which is when you beat your children, you have to hide it from people.
That's right. Huh?
It's their mistake.
Okay. Well.
They were just careless.
Yep. Okay, this is my last...
Did you hear our show on that, Michelle?
No.
Oh, man.
This is my last story, and actually, I kind of wish I'd queued up my Imperial
March. Was that 2
March.
weeks ago that we did the
That was...
Shepherding a Child book?
We did it the week after our baby shower.
And your baby shower was on?
May 5th.
So that would be the 11th. Like, that's the program we've been repeating over and over and over and over and over again.
Well, that was a good one.
It was a good one. All right, go on.
Okay. I was saying I wish I'd queued up my Imperial March music before playing this, because this is scary stuff.
Boom, 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 boom.
I don't think I should do this.
No volume control.
A campaign to redefine the birth control pill is roiling the abortion debate in these Riverside Hills and beyond. It raises these questions. Is the birth control pill an abortion drug in disguise? Are public health agencies obliged to dispense tax-paid contraceptives they deem morally wrong? And what's the role of poor women when politics, religion, and public health policy collide? Opinions are hardening as a landmark decision looms. On June 19th, a vote by the local health board could make it the nation's first to reject family planning dollars on grounds that it is money for contraceptives that abort babies. Not, abortions, but like the pill we're talking about.
I think they're going to ban coat hangers next.
The health care of 4,500 poor women in 4 countries is at stake. Title X finances not only contraceptives, but pregnancy tests, breast exams, sexually transmitted disease screening, and a host of other gynecological care. It's an idea whose time has come, said Robert C. Cetrullo, president of North Kentucky Right to Life, an anti-abortion group with considerable clout here. In a full-page ad in Saturday's major northern Kentucky newspapers, the group stated the idea clearly. Many things denominated as contraceptives are truly abortifacient. The IUD, Norplant, RU486, the so-called morning after pill, and the so-called standard birth control pill.
Good grief.
Tammy Johnson.
Okay, when they say it's an idea whose time has come, what they're saying is, we think we got the political clout to get our way now.
Yep, that's code.
Ignorant hillbillies against the pill.
It's an idea they've had all along.
Mm-hmm.
Now they think they have a chance.
Right.
Man, these people piss me off.
Yeah. Tammy Johnson, a 30-year-old mother of 2 from Florence, worries that she won't be able to get pap smears and contraceptives from the Boone County clinic she visits. My fear is if they quit with the birth control pill, what else are they going to do? Ms. Johnson receives Title X-funded Depo-Provera contraceptive injections. She has high blood pressure and cannot take the birth control pill.
What they're going to do, ma'am, is they're going to have you in a burqa. They're going to have you in a separate section in church, away from the men, not
every
speaking.
9 months like clockwork.
Yep. Those are all ideas whose time will come when these people get enough political clout.
Right.
It'll be like the old days when most women never menstruated because they got pregnant before they had a chance and got pregnant again when it came time.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why the ancient Hebrews were so upset about menstruation, because it usually didn't happen to most women, because either they weren't well fed enough and their health wasn't good enough and their menstrual cycle was messed up, or they were pregnant, or they survive to menopause.
Yeah, well, I mean, you see what's happening. They're not content with outlawing abortion.
No.
They want to outlaw anything that can stop you from having more kids. And this is a big deal because I know lots of people in my circle of friends who are very adamant about the fact that they don't want kids. I mean, you guys are among them, right?
Yes. I went under the knife to make sure that I wouldn't have any kids.
Right. But I mean, it doesn't stop. I mean, Ginny and I just had a kid, and we're done. We don't want a family of 50.
Are you going under the knife?
I've got a knife wrestle.
That's the thing. That's the thing to do.
Right.
It's kind of weird lying there, on the slab with a sheet. They got your legs up like you see, the women the gynecology thing, and there's these two nurses looking down at my exposed bits,
swabbing
me and stuff.
I'm not sure I want to hear this.
It's
right
very
now.
weird. Yeah, but that my ability to talk about it, joke about it means that
it's not that big.
It's just one of those funny kind of things that happens.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, these people do not recognize that there is any such. They don't recognize that there's any such thing as an overpopulation problem, right? I mean,
Anybody
listening to
No. We're just railroading right over your concerns. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Russell.
I'm listening, Russell.
I mean, these people do not recognize that there's any such thing as an overpopulation problem. Because, I mean, God in Genesis in the Bible says that you should go forth and multiply, but he didn't give an instruction for when to stop.
Right.
And I've heard people on message boards actually arguing, well, human cities only cover 10% of the earth right now. That still leaves 90%.
Well, I personally agree with that.
What?
But not with current technology.
In the sense that the Earth can accommodate more people,
in principle,
and that us personally, our interests are gonna outweigh the concerns of the environment. They're gonna.
Except that the environment is going to affect our interests.
And to the extent that we need to protect the environment for our personal use, we will protect it, and not any further than that.
I personally think that there's a possibility that we could decide to protect the environment after we're too far gone to do anything about it.
We can seal ourselves in enclosed habitats and generate oxygen and generate nutrients and stuff. And keep
I don't
ourselves
want to
alive.
live in a friggin' enclosed habitat.
I'm just saying.
And only countries with money to build those habitats would have people that survive.
I'm not saying that I'm in favor of this. I'm predicting.
Oh, poor
I'm
people
not
are going
do
to
that because I'm a nonprofit.
Yeah, I know. So what
That's
else is
never
there?
happened before.
What else is there?
Well, let me
I
close
personally
up
plan
this
on being
story.
off the planet and long gone before we get that far. But
Yeah,
seems
well,
kinda
that's
obvious.
nice if people think far enough ahead to
and
get
if
you
enough
off
if
the
enough of
planet.
us can get off the planet, then it'll be left as a preserve for those lunatics who have this kind of bizarre what's the word I'm looking for?
The nice thing is,
nostalgia for the Earth being like
All
this
the
nitwit I
all
heard
the
interviewed.
fundamentalists
Wait a
are-
minute, like this nitwit I heard interviewed on one of the programs on Atheist Network recently. And I'm not sure which one, but it was a guy with an organization called the Human Extinction Project. Their idea is nobody should have any more kids. And eventually humanity should just go away. Right?
It kind of worked for the Shakers.
Yeah.
They didn't reproduce, and there's none of them left.
But the idea that somehow preserving the environment is more important than us.
I never said that.
That's what I'm responding to, though.
Okay.
But most environmentalists don't think so.
No.
I mean, there are you can take any position to an extreme that sounds ridiculous.
And some people do.
But I mean, I was thinking the nice thing is, you're right, the fundamentalists will all want to stay on Earth because They're probably still living in a pre-Copernican world.
Hey,
where
the
Earth is
fundamentalists
the
will
center
not
of
want
the
to
universe.
replace all their neurons with nanotechnology and have, and become cyber beings and go off into space. They won't want it. Fine, they can live here, and they can duke it out with the technologically advanced, nostalgic folks who want to return the Earth to its pristine state. Except there'll be all these stupid fundamentalists living on it because they won't leave. And they'll have to work out some kind of deal between them.
They're breeding like rabbits.
Never. They'll kill
Yeah,
each
they'll
other.
breed like rabbits. Interesting. Sorry, anyway.
Nuke 'em all!
Do you have more news?
No, I'll just finish up this story.
Okay.
Mr. Citrullo, president of the North Kentucky Right to Life, says he will push forward his position. His organization's power, he says, is built on 3 simple ideas. Ready? It
Yeah.
never compromises.
What?
It attempts to educate, and then it prays.
They never compromise, they attempt to educate, and they pray.
If those fail...
That's their principles?
Yes.
Wait, hold
and
it.
if those
Hold
fail...
it. Whoa, hey, whoa.
Wait, I don't know if
But those 3 principles could be applied to anything,
Yeah.
right?
But they're
Principles
applied to
should
this.
be like, we think that human life is really valuable, and so we don't want anybody aborting it. Now, that would be a principle. I wouldn't agree with it, but it would be a principle. Never compromise is like, that's a strategy.
Yeah.
Those are not principles, those are strategies.
It's a pathology.
My turn.
Wait.
Enough.
He's not.
If those fail, then we tried to defeat people, Mr. Citrullo said. It's not a secret. They get no free passes from us. That's all.
What do you mean they try to defeat people?
That's what he said.
What does he mean? Oh, does he mean like elected officials?
Maybe that's what he means.
Retards. Okay.
Tell us what you really think. Jeff.
Let's do some good news. Maybe that'll take me down a notch. Durham, North Carolina. Durham police cruisers will soon be outfitted with American flags following a citizen complaint about a God Bless America bumper sticker on a cop car.
Woohoo! Good cop.
They complained, and
No, God bless America.
What? What did I say?
Godless America.
God bless. I said God bless
You
America.
said God bless. That's what I
No,
said.
God bless America. After the complaint, interim chief. Would you stop reading over my shoulder?
I'm sorry.
After the complaint, interim chief Steve Chalmers issued a memo on May 16 prohibiting changes, alterations, or modifications to police equipment without his approval. It also ordered that all stickers, magnets, flags, antenna decorations, and similar paraphernalia already on cruisers must be removed immediately. Now, this was a good story. See?
Oh.
I'm reading the good news. The God Bless America sticker came off the cop car.
We understand.
Chattanooga group working to get 10 Commandments ruling appealed. A Chattanooga group said it will ask the Hamilton County Commission to appeal a federal court order to remove the 10 Commandments from public buildings. The founder of the American Heritage Trust Foundation said the group will raise $30,000 to help with legal costs. The biblical laws had been posted on 3 county buildings until the court ruled the display unconstitutional. The commission chairman said he appreciates the help, but no appeal is planned. So these morons are raising money. They pledged to raise $30,000 for an appeal that there ain't going to be. And where will that $30,000 go? Well, where does it usually go when it goes to churches?
Proselytizing.
Okay, now. Bush holds private chat with Russia's Catholic head. Moscow. President Bush met privately Friday with the head of the Catholic Church in European Russia, which says its clergy has been harassed by the authorities at the instigation of the powerful Orthodox Church. In his public comments to religious leaders, including from the established Roman Orthodox, Jewish, and Buddhist faiths, Bush said, quote, "Freedom of religion and separation of church and state are so important."
Oh, yeah.
Is he being sarcastic?
No! He's saying whatever the hell he needs to say to appeal to the people he's speaking to at the time. You know, for those of you who are worried that we have a president who actually believes this crap, no. He's entirely a political animal. He'll do whatever he thinks he needs to do in order to get his way. If he thinks that means sucking up to the religious right, he'll do that. If he thinks sucking up to the religious right past a point will get him in trouble, he won't do it. That's exactly what's happening. Slice of old pope for new cathedral. Mutilating a corpse and discreetly packing a piece in your luggage before boarding a plane is the sort of thing that gets people arrested. But not if you're the pope. Lopping off a bit of the dead Pope John the 23rd and donating it to Sofia's new cathedral was considered an honor to Bulgaria's Catholics. Which part was cut off is not clear because the gift was not part of the official program of the Pope's 4-day visit to Bulgaria, which ended on Sunday. Pope John the 23rd's body was embalmed hours after his death in June 1963. When it was exhumed last year, it was found to be in almost perfect condition, a feat of preservation hailed by some as a miracle. Hell, was it, Stalin was preserved longer than that, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. And there's, lots of mummies that are just naturally desiccated and are hundreds and hundreds of years old.
With dead people in them.
The relic was removed from the corpse last July after it was put in a glass coffin and displayed in St. Peter's Square to thousands of pilgrims. The corpse was, not the piece.
Well, Catholic churches in general have relics. Under a cloth on the altar, there's a little piece of some dead guy.
Yeah.
Or a piece of wood, or it's not just always body parts. Is it usually bones?
I think it's generally like finger bones and stuff like that. Teeth.
Testicles.
Could be. I'm really not sure.
No, there's a list here. Let me get to it. Known as the Good Pope for his compassion, John is on a Vatican fast. Yeah, he's not the good one. John is on a Vatican fast track to canonization. I told you I had mostly Catholic news this week.
When he dies, will they say the only good pope is a dead pope?
I'll say that now. John is on a fast track to canonization, after which he will be known as Saint John. He is revered in Bulgaria because he served there as a priest from 1929 to 1934 and fell in love with the people and country, and especially the children. I'm sorry. Those last few words were mine. It's not in the article. Sofia's new cathedral was built to replace one destroyed by bombing in 1944. According to the Rome Daily La Repubblica, the relic, wrapped in a medieval cloth, will be kept in the cathedral as an object of veneration. The cathedral authorities were expecting a relic in order to make a shrine, but they had no inkling they would receive such a spectacular present from the Vatican. We don't know that it's spectacular. It could be like a fingernail clipping. Or is it spectacular because of the Pope it is?
No, it is 18 inches of pulsating love muscle.
That would be spectacular, especially if it's still pulsating since 1963. That would be preservation. Okay, and that's this week's really tasteless comment that I have. I have to make one of every week. I've met my quota. It could have been any part of the body. The basilica in Padua in northern Italy displays St. Anthony's tongue, jawbone, and vocal cords.
Ew.
Other churches and cathedrals boast hanks of hair, bits of bone, heads, fingers, and toes. The practice has long been criticized as a medieval hangover.
Actually, I think it's an ancient pagan kind of deal.
Is it? But they're doing it.
Do they go to the holy body parts store and pick these things up? I'll take a fingernail.
There's a great skit on in Blackadder about that, where they make Blackadder the archbishop, and they're going through the catalog of all the different parts that they have available for things, and Percy, his friend, is criticizing them for they're talking about these relics, and he says, "I have here a real relic. It's a finger joint of our Lord." And he goes on for a few minutes, and they say, "That's astounding, Percy. I didn't know. I'm amazed that you were able to acquire that." Really, sir? Why, yes. I thought they only came in boxes of 10. All right. Pope John Paul is a traditionalist whose reverence for relics has reinvigorated the tradition. Well, that's because he practically is one. Pope has crosswords for some celebs.
Yeah, speaking of ancient relics.
The Vatican is crossed with stars who wear crucifixes as jewelry, and wants stunners like Jennifer Aniston, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Jennifer Lopez to take them off.
Take it off!
The edict from the Vatican news agency Fides slammed the trio and other celebs for turning jewel-encrusted crosses into the mania of the moment. Quote, Crosses glitter around the necks of television show women, leading models and actresses, the agency raged in the scathing editorial. Is it consistent with the gospel to spread millions on a copy of the sacred symbol of the Christian faith? The agency asked, and perhaps forget that there are people all over the world who suffer and die of hunger? Share spokeswoman Liz Rosenberg said, why don't you tell the Pope to clean up his own house?
There's no pleasing something.
No. You think they'd be happy
You
they
get
were
huge coverage of the cross, and then
They would have.
Where I think crosses are offensive and should not be displayed. They kind of remind me of swastikas. It's all about torture, right? There's a symbol of torture, and what it really means is, you don't believe in this, you'll be tortured.
yeah,
Right.
like Dan Barker said. I mean, if your friend saved your life from a crazed mafia hitman, do you think he'd be happy to find out that you wore like machine gun earrings for the rest of your life?
Yeah. Okay, a little bit of non-Catholic news. 10 Commandments cover stolen from courthouse. Westchester, Pennsylvania. So much for thou shalt not steal. The Chester County authorities launched an investigation yesterday after 2 people in disguises ripped the aluminum shroud off the 10 Commandments plaque on the county courthouse and disappeared with it into the night. The bronze plaque, which a federal judge ordered covered after ruling that it amounts to government endorsement of religion, stood in full view for 12 hours late Wednesday and early yesterday before county officials noticed the $400 shroud was missing and replaced it with a backup. Was it done for religious purposes? A prank? A dare? We just don't know, said Lieutenant Joe Brooks of the Chester County Detectives. Wearing sunglasses, hoods, and hats, 2 people spent approximately 3 minutes on the courthouse portico around 8:30 p.m. Wednesday, prying the 50 by 39-inch shroud off the wall, a police video shows. Scrape marks on the wall suggest they used a screwdriver or crowbar. They apparently knew a security camera was trained on the site because they looked up at it, police said.
Well, you knew when they installed that, they had to drag people kicking and screaming, and it was a big mess when they put it on. And it's only on there temporarily while they're trying to decide what to finally do, because to remove it, because Margaret Downey is the one that led that lawsuit.
Yeah.
If they removed it from the wall, it might cause damage to the historic building.
Uh-huh.
So they covered it as a compromise until they decide how to finalize what they're going to do about it.
I got some news for Lieutenant Joe Brooks of the Chester County Detectives, who doesn't know if it's religious or a prank or a dare. You know, when, like, wacky college kids run off with stuff as a prank, it's always stuff that's good enough to set up in your dorm room. Always, right? And a piece of shredded tin or aluminum doesn't cut it.
Right.
Gee,
You know,
I wonder
like we have a pizza chain here in town that has a Godzilla on their truck that they drive around, right? It's like 3-foot tall Godzilla. That got ripped off. That looks good in a dorm room. That's a prank. Nobody stole Godzilla for religious purposes. But when people steal the aluminum cover off the 10 Commandments, that's religion. Woman fined for praying over boy, 16. Gering, Nebraska. A woman was fined $100 after she was convicted Monday of praying over a 16-year-old boy against his will. Atheists, take note. I think we got some strategy here. A Scotts Bluff County jury took less than an hour to convict Alice Gudgel, 55, of false imprisonment of a minor. Gudgel, a parishioner at the Assembly of God Church in Minotaur, was accused of restraining the boy after he became disruptive during a February 20 youth group meeting at the church. Police in Minotaur have said that they were called to the church after getting a call from the boy's mother and saw the teenager being forcibly held down as part of a religious ritual. The Reverend Dwight Sandoz and Gudgel testified they only laid their hands on the boy and prayed, sometimes speaking in tongues, in an effort to convert him.
Oh.
So it
Sandoz
wasn't just saying, I'll pray for you, obviously. I mean, it was grabbing him.
They were forcibly holding him down, speaking in tongues over him in order to convert him. Right? Forcible conversion. Sandoz, his wife Nadine, and their 17-year-old son Joshua are also charged with the same offense.
Okay.
So there we go. They went to prison. Well, they didn't go to prison. They got fined. I don't know if they each have to pay $100 though. Okay, and now are we ready for the week in pedophilia?
Oh,
I don't know. I'm tired from last week.
I know. My butt is still sore. Sorry, that was my second tasteless comment this week, and I'm way past my limit.
You don't get one next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an advance on next week.
Now, first of all, there's something that occurred to me, and this is not a news thing, but just something that strikes me as kind of odd. I have never met an atheist who said they became an atheist because some priest fondled their wiener. Have anybody here ever... Anybody in the chat room? Let's throw this question open. Anybody? The kids wouldn't know.
I don't have a wiener. So.
Or there are or whatever parts, right?
Tom Arnold was on a rerun of Politically Incorrect
Yeah.
last night, and he said he was molested, and that was, I don't know, he wouldn't stop talking about it, actually.
So he was kidding.
No.
No?
No, he actually was molested as a child.
Really? And is he an atheist?
By a priest?
Not that I know
I
of,
think
but-
so. I don't know.
By a priest. That's the question.
Yes.
Oh, didn't know that part.
By a
What part don't you know?
I don't know whether he's an atheist, and I don't know whether it's
Okay.
because of
So it
that.
doesn't count.
But he was fairly anti-religious. I mean,
Well, yeah, but
I don't know.
you could be anti-religion and still be...
Yes, I've had several children confide to me that have stopped being religious because they were abused.
Okay, Amanda's telling me that...
They lost all respect for the clergy that they were involved with,
Okay.
and when their parents refused to believe them.
Yeah.
We can't hear you over the
they
thing.
always enjoyed.
Okay. Yeah, Amanda's telling me that she has talked... Amanda, stop talking because they can't hear you. Either come over here and talk in the mics, or I'll relate, and then we have to move on. Please, help me out here. Okay. So, yeah, Amanda's reporting that she has talked to several kids that have had that experience and converted as a result. Okay. That's the first I've heard of it. And I was wondering about this because how this apparently has been going on for some time, and it's still a big religion, right? I'm wondering about the
It's been going on most of the time.
Right.
For over 1,000 years.
So I'm wondering about the survival value of the belief system when that is able to go on. I mean, clearly the pedophilia is not enough to stop them from expanding. I'm wondering if maybe there's some kind of terror aspect of that or indoctrination aspect of that actually helped the Catholic Church grow. And I'm just wildly speculating here because it just did seem odd to me that I've never heard of stories like that before.
Well, the whole celibacy thing was basically a mechanism of keeping priests from acquiring property and giving it to their kids. That basically a priest dies, anything he has belongs to
That's not what I'm talking about, though. I'm talking about the pedophilia.
Right. But what I'm saying is that the thing that has survival value is it keeps the priests under control. It keeps their property in the family, right? The church.
Yeah, but if this
and so-
pedophilia drove people away from the church, right, then you'd think it would have some kind of visible impact on their church's ability to grow. And I don't see that.
Right. No, because they've been very good at covering it up. It's very much a culture of secrecy. But basically, I think they should be more like the Roman legions. All Catholic priests should be gay. And
They should pray on each other.
it's good for morale.
What's good for morale?
Having a lover. And if they don't want them to have kids and have the kids get property, well, then they should all be gay.
No, I'm talking about the kids. I'm talking about terrorizing or indoctrinating the kids in some way that makes the kids stay around. That's what I'm saying.
Isn't some of it like the feeling?
Make them feel bad about themselves
victims,
so that they
right,
have to come back in
right.
for more.
Right, they need to be. They've done
forgiveness?
something bad. They have to
Right.
be forgiven.
Yeah.
So they become even better Catholics.
Right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
suspicious of.
So I mean, think of it. Kids were up until recently, kids were not told they had any power at all.
And that may be the explanation for why there are now some kids.
Yeah, the idea of children
turning to
having rights
atheism as
is
a
a
result
relatively
of-
new thing in history.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have no statistics to back up any of this. I was just curious. Okay. Bishop caught on tape suggesting concealing abuse evidence. The Vatican's American embassy may have played a key role in keeping secret the scope and seriousness of the priest's sexual abuse problem and of the millions of dollars in church money used to keep the scandal quiet. In a tape obtained by ABC News, the auxiliary bishop of Cleveland, A. James Quinn, was recorded in 1990 telling a seminar of church leaders and lawyers to destroy any anonymous allegations when sex abuse allegations arise. Personnel files should be carefully examined to determine their content. Unsigned letters alleging misconduct should be expunged, Quinn said on tape. He continued to suggest that officials should consider sending dangerous material to the apostolic delegation at the Vatican Embassy before lawyers or law enforcement officials could formally subpoena the material. The Vatican has its own embassy in Washington, which enjoys the same diplomatic immunity granted the embassies of other countries, which could make it a safe hiding place for damaging information. If you think it's going to be necessary, if there is something that you that you really don't want reviewed, you might send it off to the apostolic delegation, said Quinn. They have immunity. If it's dangerous, if it's something you consider dangerous, you might send it off to them. The Vatican Embassy declined to answer ABC News questions about Quinn's statement, but church officials have said the embassy and the Vatican were only recently made aware of the details of sexual abuse cases.
They just didn't know.
Yet another country on the Catholic pedophilia hit parade, Australia now. Pedophile priests doing church work. Catholic priests found guilty of child abuse have taken part in retreats for abuse victims, worked on church websites, and ministered to hospital patients. Senior church official John Gary yesterday admitted the protocols developed to stop pedophile priests having access to children had been breached in at least one Brisbane case. Yeah, apparently a lot. Pope accepts Milwaukee Archbishop's retirement. I think we announced last week that Archbishop Weekland of Milwaukee had tendered his resignation, and they were going to accept it because he's old. That's why, right? Not because he was, not because he sexually abused a guy and then paid $450,000 to settle it.
And then lied about it.
What? And lied about it.
Because basically he said that the money, that it didn't cost the Catholic Church.
Yeah. Here's the details. The money for the settlement came from the Archdiocese's general budget, which includes income from sources such as investments and church-owned rental property. No money from the parish contributions or donations paid for the settlement, said spokesman Jerry Topzewski. The money was legitimately authorized and paid for this settlement, Topzewski said. So what he's telling us is the church legitimately authorized and paid to hush up this guy's sex abuse. Weekland is the highest-ranking American churchman to acknowledge settling a sexual abuse allegation against him. Paul Marcoux, now 54, said he was drunk when Weekland tried to assault him in October 1979, but he did not go to police because two priests advised against it. Marcoux, then 30, was a Marquette University theology student. Weekland, Skulba, and the Archdiocesan financial officer authorized the settlement, Topzewski said. The Archdiocesan attorney and Milwaukee County District Attorney E. Michael McCann also knew about settlement allegations, he said. The Archbishop did not notify the Vatican, they say. McCann told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel he has known for years Weekland had a troubling relationship in the past with a man. The prosecutor told the newspaper he would not hesitate to call for an investigation into the settlement if warranted. He did not return calls on Friday from the Associated Press. The Madison-based Freedom from Religion Foundation called Friday for an investigation into the settlement and into McCann's role in the negotiations. Now get this, right? This is Milwaukee County District Attorney E. Michael McCann, who is also the Archdiocesan attorney. Okay?
Wow.
That is the thing. He works for the Vatican, he works for the Catholic Church, and he works for the state. Marcoux, who now lives in San Francisco, said he went public after noting several church leaders released victims from their confidentiality agreements. Topzewski said the Archdiocese has not decided whether to sue Marcoux for breaking the confidentiality agreement.
I just dare him.
No,
Make
really?
his day.
Amazing. New Hampshire Diocese acknowledges previous allegation against former camp priest. Concord, New Hampshire, the Diocese of Manchester acknowledged it knew of a previous allegation of sexual abuse against a priest, now deceased. Hey, that rhymes. Who once served as the director of a Roman Catholic... Does that count as a number 3? Would that be a third? Who once served as the director of a Roman Catholic summer camp for children.
Mm-hmm.
Catholic Church officials conceded over the weekend they received an allegation against Reverend Carl Dowd in February from a man who claimed he was molested in 1971 when he was a 16-year-old altar boy at the church in Keene. On Saturday, the Associated Press reported a different man alleged that he was molested by Dowd at Camp Fatima in 1972 when he was 9. Diocese spokesman Patrick McGee told the AP he knew of no previous allegations against Dowd. So there they are, caught in a lie again. Catholic priest creates disturbing website. Now this is the capper. Okay, and for folks in the chat room,
drum roll, please.
Get ready to check out these URLs because this is just astounding and appalling. As if the Catholic Church doesn't have enough problems. Catholic priest creates disturbing website. A Pennsylvania priest has created a wrestling website that would even embarrass Vince McMahon, featuring hundreds of photos of young men, some of whom are minors, in nothing but clingy Speedos. The so-called Junior Professional Wrestling Association is the brainchild of Reverend Glenn Michael Davidovich, the 38-year-old pastor of St. Michael's Byzantine Catholic Church. Davidovich's website offers 50 separate videotapes at $20 a pop of matches between young men using names like Hardcore Kid, David Goliath, Sven, Latin Heat, and Bad Brad.
Oh, jeez.
Accompanying the sales pitch are scores of suggestive photos showing young men, often with their legs splayed, in a variety of unorthodox wrestling positions. None of the grapplers is wearing headgear, traditional wrestling singlets, or even shoes or socks. In fact, many of the videos and photos apparently were taken in the rectory rec room. According to a description once carried on Davidovich's website, quote, "From our humble beginnings, the JPWA now has over 70 wrestlers ranging from 14-year-old to 30-something, most in the 16 to 25-year range." But the reference to underage performers has been dropped from the current version of the website, likely triggered by recent complaints from parishioners and the local newspaper story. The URL was www.jpwa.com, but it's currently disabled. You can find the story at www.thesmokinggun.com.
I don't want to actually post any URL with the pictures on it, personally.
Well,
They're okay.
that...
You can do it, Russell. It's not that bad. I've seen it.
Oh.
Yeah, no, they're not naked.
They're PG photos, but they're just...
They're a very, very strong PG. Okay, now, can a church go broke? This is from Time Magazine. With new allegations of sexual abuse surfacing almost every week, Catholic dioceses across the U.S. face hundreds of millions of dollars in additional claims. Many now wonder, can the church actually go broke? The short answer is no. In the U.S., the Catholic Church collects revenues totaling around $7.5 billion. There they are.
Ew.
Okay, our producer, Russell, has brought up the photos of other folks in the... Go ahead and look at them.
All right. If I have to.
Unorthodox.
Oh. Yeah, they really look like they're wrestling.
No,
don't they?
no, those, oh, good grief.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's astounding. Okay. Let me read this last sentence again. In the U.S., this is just the United States, the Catholic Church collects revenues totaling around $7.5 billion a year. $7.5 billion. Even more impressive are its vast property holdings, which this is what they have on top of the $7.5 billion they suck from the American public every year, which include everything from cathedrals and schools to beachfront retreats, stately mansions, golf courses, and television and radio stations. But the real secret of the Church's financial strength is that each of the 178 Roman Catholic dioceses in the U.S. organizes its affairs separately. nearly all employ a highly complex and decentralized legal structure that so far has effectively shielded their assets from legal claims brought against priests. The increase in lawsuits is prompting dioceses from Providence, Rhode Island to Los Angeles to take further measures to protect or hide their assets. But it is also prompting new security it is also prompting new security of their corporate structures and raising questions about who should be held accountable for the sins of the fathers. They act no different from Enron, says Miami attorney Ron Wheel, who has pursued scores of sexual abuse cases. It's a very transparent effort to insulate themselves from liability. Astounding.
Huh. Sure seems like RICO ought to be able to apply to that.
You would think.
I mean, it is obviously a racket.
You would think. Now, I was thinking about this. And I can't remember my train of thought, so never mind. Maybe it'll come up again. Comments?
Nope.
Nothing in the chat room? Anybody looked at the photos?
Don't know. I think if they have, they don't want to talk about them.
Oh boy. Okay, so that's the news.
All right. I've got something I brought.
You do? Well, let me do a quick reminder. If you're enjoying our show and want to receive, you know what? The reminder list is pretty much gone, right? I mean, nobody's been sending reminders.
Wendy
asked for somebody to take over, and nobody has, but there's been no further reminders, so it's fine. We'll remind you. You can listen to this show live every Saturday from 2 to 3:30 Central Time, and also you can listen to past episodes of our show at the Atheist Community of Austin website, www.atheist-community.org. To listen live, you go to atheistnetwork.com, and they also have the very latest of the previous shows logged. And while you're listening to it live, check out the chat room by clicking on the chat link, and you'll get to participate in the discussion. Go ahead, Russell. What do you got?
This came up this week in a message board that I frequent. I haven't been terribly active in it because I've been a little busy with home life because, as I mentioned, my son was born last week.
Right.
But apparently before, leading up to that week, there had been quite the raging abortion debate going on with some of the fundamentalists who were who were on the chat board, which I was mostly uninvolved with. But when I came on, I basically posted, "Hey, Mini-Me has arrived."
Yeah.
And I got this weird response from a fundamentalist couple who are heavy on this board, saying, "Congratulations on becoming a father. Glad God saw fit to allow him to enter the world. But at what point did Benjamin become a mini-me? If he died 6 weeks ago, would he have just been a non-Benjamin mini non-you? Would you have lost the son you have now, or just some fetal tissue?" I wanted to bring this up because a lot of people were basically disgusted with the fact that they would take the opportunity of someone's personal
celebration.
moment.
Well, that's what religion is about.
Exactly.
Religion is entirely about taking advantage of other people's emotional vulnerability.
Right. And I mean, basically, the religion doesn't say, I mean, being religious says that you have to be recruiting people all the time. It doesn't say that there is any such thing as tact.
Well, this is especially true of Christianity.
Right.
Judaism was never based on proselytizing so much.
That is true. In fact, early Judaism wanted to keep people out as much as possible, I think. Anyway, I gave him a much nicer response than he deserved, basically saying, what you're coming up with is basically a hypothetical. I mean, all kinds of things could have happened that would have made him not the son that he is today. I mean, if we had chosen not to have sex on the particular day that we did, we would have lost the son that we have now, and we would never have really known about it, but we might have had other sons or daughters later. and we would have been just as happy about it. I don't see...
And a big fraction of embryos spontaneously abort.
Right. I mentioned that too.
God's the biggest abortionist there is.
And people never really know about it, and you never hear people saying that abstinence is murder. You never hear people say, because basically every time a woman has a period, that's a potential life gone down the drain also. Anyway,
I've watched entire.
I don't want to hear about it. Yeah. Well, anyway, I thought to highlight this point, I'd track down a few posts by a guy who posts on talk.origins frequently.
Uh-huh.
His name is Jabriel.
Oh, yeah. I know about Jabriel.
You're familiar with Jabriel.
He has been regular
prolific.
on alt atheism.
This is one of the sickest excuses for a human being that I've ever seen on Usenet, pretty much. Basically you can go to Google Groups and search for Jabriol, and you'll find all kinds of opportunities that he takes to hammer his particular creationist agenda, even in situations where it's extremely inappropriate, even when the subject of evolution hasn't come up, even when it's not an evolution-related board. I mean, you'll get something like my brother committed suicide, and he'll come on and say, oh, well, of course he committed suicide, because society tells him that life has no meaning, because we're all just evolution descended from the apes. It's natural selection. You should be happy about it. I mean, for example, after Columbine, he posted, how did Mr. Natural Selection decide who lives and who dies? Let's hear some experts on the matter. What happened today was the consequence of teaching evolution in schools, a conspiracy against morals. Gun manufacturers who sell guns to kids are applying what they learn in evolution. Make money today, there is no tomorrow, and from an evolution standpoint, they are right. On September 12th last year, he posted, if evolution is correct, then by logical deduction, man is the most efficient killing machine ever to evolve, and yesterday we saw natural selection at its supreme in this country.
What is his point?
And he responded to somebody not on an evolution, not on Talk Origins, not on anything to do with evolution, who was posting about a rape support group. And he said, well, why would you find this amazing? When rape is taught in school via the theory of evolution, natural selection,
what?
And handing out condoms in school.
Keep the condoms.
When he goes
Yes,
to,
Russell, there are some fundamentalist Christians who are complete wackazoids. Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
I was going to say, does he answer every question like that? He goes to McDonald's, they say, what do you want to eat? And he goes, well, evolution says I want to.
Pretty much. I mean,
Everything.
some people
Everything
are
leads to
just
evolution.
so obsessed with their agenda that they can't even take a moment to relate to people on a personal level. And I find that disgusting.
Can we go off on the abortion tangent again? This has been
Oh, sure.
We kind of talked about this earlier.
Now, I know there are a few atheists who are not.
Not
who are,
pro-choice. No.
Well, this is interesting. I've been one of the other shows on the Atheist Network, and unfortunately, if you bring up the screen, I could probably point out which one it was, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
what's
So
that?
bring up the main Atheist Network page.
Okay.
And on one of these shows, the host interviewed a fellow who is who's offering a non-religious it's ideas and issues, I believe.
It is?
Yeah, he was interviewing a guy who's promoting a non-religious right to life philosophy, which all boils down to, according to him, and I'm paraphrasing here, right? And to be fair to the guy, listen to the program, but his thing boils down to he calls it a future like ours philosophy. That the reason why we don't kill like adults is because they can look forward to a future like ours, and that is the deciding factor when we talk about like euthanasia. It's somebody who does not have the prospect for a future like ours, so maybe in that case it's okay. But as soon as it is a fertilized ovum, then it's got a future like ours.
But even before it's a fertilized ovum, it has a future like ours if we do the nesting.
The host asked him good questions, including that one, and his excuse was, well, no, before that point it breaks up into these components. There's a separate sperm and a separate egg. You don't have a clear victim, right? I don't see how making it a victim that's in multiple parts makes any difference.
Right. What difference does it make whether it's a non-sentient blob of protoplasm or two non-sentient blobs of protoplasm that can become one?
Right. I think that is a fair question, and I think he utterly failed to address it. He was also asked, what about the fact that a fertilized egg hasn't got an opinion, right? Hasn't got a consciousness. It doesn't
understand a promise.
Right. And his response to that was, when somebody is like in a coma and they might recover, we think about their best interests in terms of keeping them alive until they can get to the point where they can have those interests. And basically made it the same thing. But all of this boiled down to, he says as much in the interview, he's trying to construct an argument to support what appear to be our natural impulses regarding this. And that, I think, is where it completely breaks down. Because our natural impulses are stuff we got from evolution, right? Mm-hmm. Our desire to make babies, our desire to protect babies, our desire to kill in some cases and not kill in other cases is not coming from a perspective of what's ultimately right and wrong. It's coming from a perspective of, well, what were the behaviors that got selected for and got inherited by us? And he's trying to put together this argument to prop up the way we're acting now, the way we kind of, without thinking about it, feel like acting. But that's the very point. We're not thinking about it. It seems to me any philosophical, all-encompassing philosophical view we're going to have about this has got to be based on entirely thinking about it and not just trying to and it might tell us that our feelings are wrong in some cases. Right. And it seems to me like it has to.
Well, in philosophy, there's what they call reflective equilibrium, which is the state you get to when you know everything you need to know about something and what, basically, opinion you converge to.
Uh-huh.
So when you're making an argument about ethics, for example, you use examples to say, what you're thinking of as a rule, here's an example I can show you where you can see that the rule doesn't actually apply. That can't be the right rule.
Uh-huh.
Right? And so what you're doing is trying to break down the things that can be broken down into something simpler. Like, if you say you should kill your daughter if she has premarital sex.
Right.
Well, why would that be? Well, because God says so.
Right. It seems to me...
Well, if there's no God, that argument fails and you stop thinking you're obligated to kill your daughter. That's not a basic moral thing. It's a derived one.
And this guy appeared to be going at it from the other direction. Starting from the premise of, what is the common wisdom about this? And then trying to build a framework of rules that would encompass exactly that, right? To sort of justify not thinking any further about whether our impulses are really right or wrong. As if just building a internally consistent philosophy proves that it's right or wrong. Well, it doesn't. Right?
Now, if you're interested in the relationship of evolution and morality, and both from a biological and physiological point of view, there's Unto Others,
which I'm
by
trying to force my way through.
Elliot Sober and somebody Wilson.
Right.
And it talks about how, and this comes up about this thing this guy's spewing in chat rooms or whatever, that basically we are evolved to have a certain kind of moral structure, or at least the ability to develop that moral structure.
Yeah.
Now, the reasons why that has been pro-survival are not in our heads. Right. So
they're in the environment.
This simplistic social Darwinism that this guy is promoting to undermine it, right, It's like you don't like sex so that you can have kids, right? You like kids, you like sex, but you're not evolved to like sex so that you can have kids. That's not necessary. And so our preferences, including our moral preferences, often don't have a simple, clear relationship to what the evolutionary pressures were.
Right.
So any kind of simplistic argument like that, you have to throw it away and say, no, in fact, what did we evolve to be? What are morals? What kinds of things count as a moral judgment versus some other kind of judgment? And I think there are what they call natural kinds of that there are certain things that can count as morality and other things can't.
Yeah. I'm going to cut this discussion off now here because Michelle's got a bunch of stuff that she brought, and let's get to that before we run out of time.
Okay.
Did you have something, Russell, that you had to say?
No, I'm finished.
Who's
but
that?
We got like 6 minutes.
Ooh. You used to be thin, Russell.
Okay,
I
well,
know.
What happened? I suppose I did too.
well, I could always come
We
back.
got more than 6 minutes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right.
We got to play the closing music.
Well, it's that time of year again. The textbook reviews coming up, and this year it's social studies.
Uh-huh.
And after the fiasco they had last fall with the science textbooks,
Right. That's here in Texas we're talking about.
right? Yeah, this is the
So, presumably something similar is happening all over the country.
Right. And
State by
actually,
state.
it has what happens in Texas has national implications because Texas and California are the biggest buyers of school textbooks.
Right.
If the State Board of Education doesn't accept a textbook, most likely it's not going to be printed and sold to other school districts in other states. Because it's a $570 million that Texas spends on textbooks.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, last year in the fall when they did the biology textbooks, only 20 people who had more of a mainstream approach testified on
Right.
behalf of school textbooks.
Versus how many?
Hundreds of fundamentalists,
Mhm.
leading people. And because of that, one textbook, which was the only advanced placement environmental science textbook, was rejected because they talked about global warming, they talked about endangered species, and that was anti-capitalism.
Anti-capitalism?
Okay, these are let me just real quickly.
What the hell is, wait a minute, what the hell is anti-capitalism about recognizing that some resources are limited and that if you don't manage them properly,
But-
it could hurt your business?
The thing is, for years and years, the school picking textbooks was a political issue. So about 5 years ago, the legislature passed a law where they could only refuse the books if they had a technical problem, if the binding was bad, the paper was substandard, if it didn't cover the Texas essential knowledge and skills requirements, at least 50% of them, or if it had a factual error.
Right.
So now they're going after the books, pretending they're factual errors, but really it's an ideological problem.
Right.
And I asked this question of the Texas Freedom Network at the Texas Civil Liberties Union public forum. Who enforces this? Who
Right.
says these guys didn't just make factual error claims?
Sorry,
it's
let's
nothing to do.
back up a second. The Texas Civil Liberties Union forum took place on Friday.
Right, Friday
you
evening.
went there.
Yes.
And there was a speaker from the Texas Freedom Network there.
Right.
And that is what? What is that organization?
Oh, that's
Because our listeners are from all over the
That's
world.
true.
They don't know.
Texas Freedom Network is an organization that its main purpose is to fight the religious right and their influence in Texas politics.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And
it's not an atheist group.
it's not an
It's
atheist.
not an atheist group. In
Right.
fact, I have here a mailing from the Texas Freedom Network, which says, to counter the efforts of Governor Perry, this is Governor Rick Perry, who took over from our illustrious president when he moved to Washington. The Texas, what?
We're going to get to the rest of the textbook stuff?
Yeah, we will. Let me just do this quick thing, because I'm pissed off at the Texas Freedom Network.
We're trying to get them to work with us. We'll see
They're
what
launching
happens.
the Texas Freedom Network is launching a campaign too, and then it has 8 different goals that they want to that they want to achieve, and they're mostly good goals. But number 7 is publicize the official statements of dozens of faith traditions in support of religious freedom and against coercive prayer. Now, this is the organization that has snubbed us twice, right? Twice we had speakers from them lined up to come talk to us at our monthly lecture series.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And twice they, days before, one time hours before, they called and said, no, we can't make it. Okay.
Well, we'll
And
see.
clearly,
They're very
they are-
adamant about getting the word out, about getting people to come.
But the
and
word they
testify.
want to get out is the word from faith traditions. They do not want to get the atheist point of view
Well-
out, even though we completely agree with them.
Right. And their representative last night, someone in the audience asked her, it wasn't me, if they would work with atheist
Yeah.
groups. And she said, yes, of course we would.
Yeah, I believe it when I
So
see it.
I've emailed them and we'll see. I've invited them to be on the TV show to talk about this.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Right. They also organize and support the Texas Faith Network. Now, why they need a faith network when their own goals include only publicizing the official statements of faith traditions, I don't know.
I agree.
It seems to me what they need is they need to organize and support a Texas
I would think Texas
Freedom Network, which is what their main organization is called, and include non-religious people, non-religious viewpoints in this defense of religious freedom. Amanda, come here. Please, come here.
The Texas Faith Network is actually all clergymen. So it isn't just people, it's not people in...
But so is this. Official statements of dozens of faith traditions, that's all clergy, right? Because if you're just a layperson in a church, you don't have an official statement for the church, for that religious viewpoint.
Anyway.
Okay. Amanda, you had a comment?
We lost a lot of ground with textbooks, because Texas textbooks currently are slated to be things that mention evolution up to but not including human evolution, which is a major thing. And that's because people weren't paying attention. This got by us.
Well, you know why that happens now? Because the gabblers who used to go and testify and were so active, and
The gabblers. Tell us about the gabblers.
They're a couple from Longview, fundamentalist.
It's not just two
Christian
people
group.
who gabble. Okay.
No.
That's different things. All right.
These people had many, as they call them, God-given victories over the state education board. And for years, they were a fixture. Well, it turns out now they don't come anymore. Well, it turns out they don't have to come anymore, because the publishers will give them the books ahead of time and make the changes they want before the school board even sees it. Because they don't want to have to deal with these people.
They got that powerful.
They got that powerful.
This is that couple of fundamentalists in their organization.
Right.
And, fine-looking people they are, too.
Aren't they?
Well,
Aren't they just a lovely
Texas,
couple?
if you're in Texas, whether you have kids or not,
Where are they?
this is your Texas. You've got to get
Yeah.
involved with this. You've got to be on top of these rulings, these hearings, and pressure them into letting you know ahead of time. A lot of this stuff was stealth fundamentalism getting its way.
And not just in
where
Texas.
This was a lot of stealth fundamentalism where a lot of these hearings were held with very little public notice and a lot of private religious notice.
That's what the Texas Freedom Network wants to do this time, is to get people. You don't even have to go to the hearings. You can make a written notice. And it doesn't, one thing I learned yesterday was it doesn't have to be, you don't actually have to read the book and say this and this and this is the problem. You can write a general ideological book. Good books should include these things.
Right.
Or should not include these things.
Right.
And you can either go to the Region 13 office, or you can actually check out the books from the Texas Freedom Network. They're focused on the 5 books that they think are going to have the most problem. And you can check them out and read them if you want, and then go and testify. But you have to sign up a week before a hearing in order to testify.
And when is the next hearing?
There's a list of hearings. The July 17th is the first open hearing on textbooks. You have to register by July 10th. I think you can do that at the State Board of Education website, which I don't have, unfortunately.
Okay.
Then there's a public hearing on the 23rd of August. You have to register for that by August the 16th. September 12th is another hearing. You have to register by September 6th. And a final vote's on November 13th.
Okay. I recommend that the ACA not wait for help from the Texas Freedom Network.
Right.
I think we should organize our own effort, let them know that we're doing it, and then if they want to take us seriously and involve us in their stuff, they may.
I think access to the textbooks would be most easily done through them. So it would be easier to check it out from them probably than trying to go to the regional.
Well, that's fine. We can use their resources, but let's not let's not just send them a letter saying, "Hey, we're here. What do you want us to do?" Because they will not get back to us.
So there's issues that the fundies are going to want to put in the textbooks.
Right.
So
Let's draft ourselves a position letter,
right.
and let's get a bunch of them signed, and let's get a bunch of them sent out. Let's just do that and not wait for those guys
I agree.
to break down and start involving
But also, it would be nice if we do it on the TV show and here and try to get other people just besides ACA people to do this.
Well, we have a kind of a handicap. The television show is published through ACTV, and they have a ban on what's called a call to action. I can't go on the television show and say, hey, go out and vote. That's a call to action. I'm not even telling you who to vote for or why to vote. I can't say, go out and vote. That's a no-no on public television, but we can do that.
Isn't that, what's his name's entire show?
What? Who?
What's the guy?
A guy on EC.
The one that's
Alex Jones?
Alex Jones. Isn't it his whole show's about calls to action?
I don't know how Alex Jones gets away with it. I think it's just because he's, like, powerful.
Wow.
Yeah. I've seen lots of stuff on his show that seems to me somebody ought to raise a stink about that and get him shut down. But
we can just, as an educational thing, these are the dates of the hearings. If you're interested in doing this, you can do it. I mean, we don't say.
But let's us do it. We can talk about it on the TV show, but we can't instruct people on what to do. But we can at our meetings, we can at our email list, and we can on this audio show.
Can I rave out on what I objected to with the social studies textbooks? I've seen two of them.
You can if you do it in less than a minute, because we're out of time.
Yeah, well, we've got all this lip service to diversity, but things are actually being left out. And a big thing, and the media is picking up the ball and running with it. We had the movie Enigma, which shows a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant heterosexual male doing what was done by Alan Turing in World War II. Alan Turing broke the Enigma cipher. It was a major turning point of the war. He's a war hero. He was an atheist, and he was gay. He killed himself after the hearings, revealing that he was gay and revealing he was an atheist, which was grounds for them to remove his security clearance. And that's the kind of thing that belongs in social studies textbooks.
It was worse than that, actually, because they also had court-ordered administration of estrogen to make him impotent so he couldn't manifest his homosexuality, and that was known to cause severe depression and things, so that very likely killed it.
Okay. And on that pleasant note.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will be here again next week, every Saturday from 2 to 3:30. And again, any shows that you've missed, you can go to www.atheistnetwork.com/radio.htm and listen to, dozens of shows that we've done already.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Thanks to everybody in the chat room for hanging out. We appreciate each and every one of you. We will see you again next week, and we will leave you with David Byrne. Finite equals all right.